Joining us right now here on the Rich Eisen Show, a national champion from your Penn State Nittany Lions, TJ Jefferson.
Yes, indeed.
Now of NBC Sports, enjoyed his call with Noah Eagle this past weekend with Michigan State. Be on the call of the Ohio State and Wisconsin on Big Ten Saturday night, 7:30 Eastern on NBC and Peacock. Todd Blackledge here on the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, Todd?
I'm doing good, Rich. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, man. I've got so many questions for you, not just about what you call, but from your playing days. And, I haven't really had much of a conversation with you, but let's start, I guess, with the here and now. What's your opinion of what's going on with the NCAA investigation of the Michigan Wolverines, Todd?
Well, it's interesting because the story today is a lot different than it was when we went on the air Saturday in terms of more information or more evidence, supporting these allegations. I think I heard you say it a little bit earlier. My opinion is, look, everybody's trying to steal signs. I mean, this is not new. It's not uncommon. Everybody's looking for some form of competitive advantage, whether they're doing it off of game film of previous games or in game as the game is unfolding. That's why teams are constantly changing their signals through the course of the season, because they know this is happening. It's a common practice. It's not illegal. But the things that now Michigan are accused of doing, in-person scouting, which never was illegal until 1994, and using some kind of electronic or recording devices, those things are illegal. And if it comes to be that they prove that this is true, then there should be some consequences for Michigan. I don't know what extent those consequences would be or when they would ever be able to enforce it or make it happen. But, the allegations are that they crossed the lines on a couple of things. And if that's true, then there should be some consequence for it. However, and I said this on the air, I don't think this should take away anything of how good this Michigan football team is, how talented they are on both sides of the ball, how much depth they have at all three levels of their offense and defense. This is an outstanding football team that is playing great football. And I really don't think stealing signs, or if they were able to ascertain signals, is making that much of a difference, if any, in how they've played this year.
Now, Michigan State might not have the firepower on either side of the football right now to affect the, removal of whatever system Michigan had removed by this story last week in terms of points on the scoreboard or even wins and losses. But that said, what did you see out of Michigan State on Saturday night to try and combat, what was going on and how Michigan handled it? Did you see any sense of Michigan being, and again, I watched it too, but I wasn't there. Anything that you saw from Michigan that did see out of sorts because their system of sign stealing got ripped out from root and branch by the NCAA and everything else this past week?
No, I saw a team. First of all, I saw a team in Michigan that got better from the week before. I saw them 2 weeks ago in Minnesota, and they were better against Michigan State than they were 2 weeks ago. So I think it's a team that is getting better and better each week. So I don't think whatever was taken away or not available to them had anything to do with that improvement. On the Michigan State side, I did see them do some things as a precautionary measure. They were having the quarterback run over to the sideline at times, getting the play audibly, huddling a little bit more, running some players in until they got to the second half and they realized we are so outmatched in this game, it doesn't matter. And they just went back to signaling plays in the second half. So, but in the first half, they were taking some precautions. But again, I don't know how much of an effect it had on the outcome of the game.
Todd Blackledge here on the Rich Eisen Show from NBC Sports. How good is J.J. McCarthy, Todd?
I think he's excellent. I think he's playing at an elite level. We talk a lot about Caleb Williams, although they've fell on a couple tough times here the last couple weeks. He didn't play bad against Utah. He did play poorly against Notre Dame, but it wasn't all his fault. But Michael Penix Jr., Bo Nix, playing extremely well. Jaden Daniels, a quarterback at LSU, playing as good as anybody. Jordan Travis. But I would put J.J. McCarthy right up there with all of them. The difference in JJ is he is playing in very few fourth quarters right now. They're not an offense that is a pass-first offense. It's a run-first offense, even though he's playing, at a high level. So he's not going to have the same kind of numbers week in and week out that some of the other guys are. But in terms of how he's playing, the efficiency level he's playing with, the production level, after the Bowling Green game when he threw those 3 interceptions, and they were bad decisions and bad places where he put the ball. Since then, he's been almost unstoppable. And he's so good on third down in his ability to extend plays if it breaks down and just scramble a little bit. But this year, the biggest difference in JJ this year from last year is when he scrambles this year, he is scrambling to throw. His eyes are downfield. He brings it to the line of scrimmage. He forces the defense to commit, and then he's finding places to throw the football rather than just taking off and running.
Now, this sign stealing stuff, Todd, how would it affect, positively an offense run by McCarthy, or it's really just is something that only benefits the defense against an opposing offense? What do you think?
Yeah, I would say it probably benefits a defense more than an offense, because again, and that's why, again, I don't know how much of an effect it has. Even back in the day when Clemson was championship level and Brent Venables was the defensive coordinator at Clemson, and he had kind of a reputation. People thought he was able to steal signs and was really good at picking those things up. The problem still is, okay, maybe you know the sign. How quickly can you communicate that to the guys on the field? And today's football, with so many teams playing hurry up and no huddle and doing things fast, I mean, how effective is that really? Now, if you have information ahead of time, maybe that gives you a little bit of an edge and gives you a little bit more time to adjust. But I think it has more to do with the defense picking up offensive signals and being in the right defensive structure to combat plays that you anticipate are coming, more so than helping an offense.
Todd Blackledge here from NBC Sports, calling the Ohio State and Wisconsin. How do you see the Ohio State-Michigan matchup that's coming right now, Todd?
First of all, I will never call it the Ohio State. So, I mean, I guess, I don't know if you're doing that out of respect.
No, I'm doing
that's like fingernails on a chalkboard to me.
No, Todd,
Okay.
I respect that. The reason why I'm doing it is because I'm a professional and I'm trying to make sure my listeners and viewers aren't confused with another Ohio State. You know what I'm saying, Todd? Like, it could totally leave you betwixt and between, like, wait a minute. Maybe it's an Ohio State. There's another one. I'm trying to be helpful, is what I'm saying, Todd.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'm an Ohio guy. I'm from Ohio. I went to the Penn State.
Nice.
Nobody has ever said that, right? So, but I got great respect for Ohio State.
Sure.
I just don't call it the. Anyway, I just remember, I think the first time I ever heard that, it was Gordon Gee was the president, had the bow tie on, the glasses saying the Ohio State. And ever since I was like, fingernails on a chalkboard. But that being said, it's interesting with Ohio State because they are a different team than they've been the last few years. We're used to high-level quarterback play, explosive, high-scoring offense. The defense not really at the same level. This is a different Ohio State team. This is a team right now that's being led by their defense. That in Jim Knowles, the defensive coordinator, his second year since coming over from Oklahoma State, they are playing very, very well. And it's a different kind of defense than they've played in the past. I don't think they're as talented in the back end of their defense as they've been in other years, but they're super talented up front in their front four and their linebackers. And they are counting on their front seven to control the line of scrimmage. And they're playing a little bit more loose coverage, a little more bend but don't break. They're not giving up explosive big plays. And that's the biggest difference. And that's, last year they had great defensive numbers until they got to the end against Michigan and then against Georgia in the playoff. They gave up a lot of big plays. They're not giving up big plays right now. And then on offense, Kyle McCord, their new quarterback, is getting better each week. He had his moments, where he didn't look so good last week against Penn State and a very good defensive team. But he has who I think is the best player in college football to get the football to, and that's Marvin Harrison Jr. Mm-hmm. I mean, in 2 years in a row now, he has destroyed Penn State. He had 10 catches last year. He had 11 for 162 and a touchdown this year. And I mean, he is a dominant football player. And so, in most games that he plays and Ohio State plays, he's the best player on the field. Now, as far as matching up with Michigan, again, this is the best team that I've seen Jim have. It's the most talented. I've talked to some NFL guys that say they have as many as 17 draftable guys on this roster. They are deep on both sides of the ball, and they seem like a team that is truly on a mission. They had guys like a Zach Zinter, who could have gone to the NFL, probably been a high draft pick, wanted to come back, and try to win a national championship. And I think that they are in as good a position as anybody to make that happen. They are really a good football team.
So what are your 2 cents on your alma mater and James Franklin and the record against, Michigan and the Ohio State? I mean, so what are your 2 cents on your alma mater, Todd?
Well, that was a very frustrating game for me to watch Saturday. Doing a night game, I was able to watch the whole game before I left to go to the stadium.
Sure.
And it was very frustrating. I mean, it's hard for me to imagine that you could be a top 10 football program and go 0 for 15 at one point on third down. I mean, I don't care how good the defense is that you're going against. That should not happen if you're a top 10 football team. So that, their offensive plan was disappointing. I thought, they've got these 2 really good running backs. I thought they got away from the run too soon and put too much pressure on Drew Aller to make things happen against a very good Ohio State defense. So offensively, I thought that was very disappointing. I thought defensively they played well enough to win. I thought their defense was toe to toe with Ohio State. And this was a 1-possession game. And the biggest, call in the game that I was very curious about and surprised about was, in a clearly defensive field position game, Penn State had a 4th down and 3 on their own territory. It was 7.5 minutes to go and 3 timeouts. And they chose to go for it instead of punt and continue to play field position and defense. And they failed. And they gave Ohio State a short field. And, a 10-6 game went to 17-6. And at that point, when it became a 2-score game, the game was over. And so I thought defensively they played extremely well, but they just have not been able to get over that hump and win one of those games against those 2 other teams that they have to be the kind of elite program they want to be.
Well, obviously, Michigan at Penn State coming up in the middle of November has been circled for many reasons. Now, with everything going on with the sign stealing and all of that stuff, the fact that Michigan won't have that going into Penn State will be something everyone looks at. But the issue is a scheme, play calling in game. Is that what it is, Todd? Well,
I think it's a combination of things. They did nothing to threaten. They did nothing to threaten the Ohio State defense on Saturday, and they just kind of played right into their hands, and so they were ineffective on third down. So it's partly scheme, and I think the other part is, and this has been something that everybody was saying about Penn State coming into the season, the one question mark was wide receiver. Now Keandre Lambert-Smith is a good receiver. He's not anywhere near the same category that a Marvin Harrison Jr. is or a Mecca Ibuka is, but he's a really good receiver. But the question was, do they have another one? Do they have a second or a third guy? And nobody has emerged as a second or third receiving threat for Penn State to this point in the season. I mean, after Lambert-Smith, the next best receivers are their tight ends. They're good players, but it's hard to generate big-time explosive plays with tight ends. You've got to have wideouts that can stretch the field, threaten the defense, and you're not going to win against teams like Ohio State or Michigan or Penn State if you don't generate explosive plays. And an explosive play is a run of 10 yards or more or a pass of 20 yards or more. You are not going to methodically get 4, 5, 6 yard gains and go down the field on great defenses. And that showed up for Penn State against Ohio State on Saturday.
Todd, thanks for the call and Zoom. Let's do this again. When I can talk to you maybe a little bit more about your playing career. I'm fascinated about the '83 draft class and things of that nature, and being an NFL guy. but really enjoy your coverage. But you and Noah, great listen. Mike Robb is one of my favorite people to work with in NFL Network.
Good dude.
Yeah. I mean, he's a Penn Stater as well. Yep. So I just wanted to say all that so people don't think I really enjoy your coverage, because it was 49-0 on your coverage. That was great. I enjoyed it. You
enjoyed that part of it.
Oh, good Lord. It should have been 56-0, as you know. So thank you for the call, Todd. Appreciate it, man.
Take care, man.
You got it. That's Todd Blackledge of NBC Sports. Check out again the Buckeyes and Badgers on Big Ten Saturday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on NBC and Peacock. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.